Support for this episode comes from Edge Park. You've worked hard your whole life. Diabetes management shouldn't slow you down. Edge Park is your trusted go-to supplier for all things diabetes management supplies and continuous glucose monitors, like Medtronic's Guardian sensor, Dexcom G7, and the Freestyle Libre 3. Edge Park accepts most insurance plans, including select coverage for Medicare and Medicare Advantage plans, and Edge Park navigates insurance complexities for you and handles the paperwork. Learn more, go to diabetes-connections.com and click on the Edge Park logo.
This is Diabetes Connections with Stacey Sims.
This week, I've been doing this a long time, and it's pretty amazing to watch some of these kids with type 1 grow up and follow their dreams. Jaime Ferrer was diagnosed with type 1 at age 3, 18 years ago, and this summer was drafted into Major League Baseball by the Minnesota Twins. I caught up with him to ask him your questions about workouts, playing with a pump, how he managed the college recruitment process, and more. He is a great kid, and this was a fun one. This podcast is not intended as medical advice. If you have those kinds of questions, please contact your healthcare provider. Welcome to another week of the show. Always so glad to have you here. I'm your host, Stacey Sims. You know, we aim to educate and inspire about diabetes with a focus on people who use insulin. If you'll indulge me with a quick Mom's Night Out update, I just want to let you know that our Denver event registration closes. It is supposed to close today as this episode is airing, Tuesday, September 10th. If you just email me, I'm sure we can figure something out. The event is the 20th, though, so please don't wait. This is our event for moms of kids with diabetes and more women with type 1, because we've heard from a lot of you who want to attend, and it's been amazing to have you at these events. I started this in January of 2023 because I just felt like we needed something to get back together in person. This will be our 6th city, and it's just a really fun time. You know, education, community, cocktails, technology, all the good stuff. So Denver registration closing ASAP. The event is September 20th and 21st. We will next be just outside of Philadelphia in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and that is October 25th and 26th. More cities to come in 2025. All the information and past trip reports, you can see what this looks like over at diabetes-connections.com and click on the Mom's Night Out tab. On to this week's interview. My son Benny was diagnosed with type 1 around the same time as this week's guest. Benny was slightly younger, but this is the kind of story we looked for when he was in the hospital. And you're thinking all of those terrible thoughts, right? What kind of life is my kid going to have? Will he be able to do whatever it is he wants to do? Obviously, most people with diabetes don't end up as professional athletes. I mean, most people don't end up as professional athletes. But I love these inspirational stories because it has always helped me look at things, ordinary things, like Benny going to camp or going away to college or, working in an office someday or whatever it is that he chooses. It helped me look at that stuff in a much more positive way because if this over here is possible, playing Major League Baseball, playing in the NFL, climbing Everest, whatever it is, if that is possible with type 1, it makes the ordinary, for me at least, easier to visualize. All right, I should note that many of you do know or have heard of or have heard from Jaime's mother, Mila Ferrer. She has been blogging about her family's experience for a long time. She does a ton of work with Beyond Type 1, and she is an incredible advocate for the Latino diabetes community. I've had the pleasure of working with her on some of the past Beyond Type 1 projects and, advocacy efforts. Jaime was drafted by the Twins this summer, and he is currently practicing and playing with their minor league team, the Fort Myers Mighty Mussels. I may have to get that hat. That sounds amazing. I have got to look up that logo. I should also note that Jaime is part of the Tandem Diabetes Ambassador program, and that, as usual, my sports knowledge is lacking, so apologies for any dumb questions. All right, my talk with Jaime Ferrer right after this. Most people who take insulin have experienced low blood sugar. It can be disorienting and scary. Very low blood sugar is very scary. And that's where Gvoke HypoPen comes in. Gvoke HypoPen is a ready-to-use rescue pen for treating very low blood sugar in people with diabetes ages 2 and above. If you take insulin or sulfonylurias, you are at risk for your blood sugar going too low. Low blood sugar emergencies can happen unexpectedly, and they demand quick action. You need a safety net when it matters most. Be ready to treat very low blood sugar with Gvoke HypoPen. Go to diabetes-connections.com and click on the Gvoke logo. Gvoke shouldn't be used if you have a tumor in the gland on top of your kidneys called pheochromocytoma, or if you have a tumor in your pancreas called insulinoma. Visit gvokeglucagon.com/risk for safety information. Jaime, welcome to Diabetes Connections. I am so excited to talk to you. Let me just start by saying congratulations. It's had to have been kind of a whirlwind summer for you. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. No, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. It's been a great summer. Had a great spring season. Now, playing the last bit of pro ball for this season, then heading into the off season.
That's pretty exciting. So tell me how this works.
Yeah. So the draft was around mid-July. Then a week after you get drafted, you have to report to their affiliates. So Minnesota has an affiliate in Fort Myers, which is where I'm playing right now, and it's also their spring training location. So we showed up we had a draft camp, which was like 10 days long. And then they assigned us to a team. We've been playing ever since. So this is our fourth week of playing. So we've played a lot of games, a lot of reps. So it's been a good time.
I don't want to get ahead of myself. My first question is, oh my gosh, Fort Myers, Florida in August. Not only how are you holding up, just how's the diabetes holding up, but maybe we should wait. Well, give me a high level answer on that one and we'll circle back.
Yeah, good. I mean, I was born and raised in Puerto Rico and then lived in Florida for a long time. So I'm used to the heat. So it's nothing new to me, but you just got to stay on top of it. And there's a lot more exercise and a lot more activity than we're doing here than we did in college. So it's definitely been a big adjustment, eating a lot more snacks during the games, drinking a lot more Gatorade. But no, the staff here's done an amazing job. Our trainer has type 1 diabetes herself. She's been great, and she's always checking in, making sure I'm okay, and making sure that if I need anything, she's gonna have it there for me.
All right, let's back up a little bit because I have so many questions already. But let's just start for people who aren't familiar with your story. You were diagnosed as a little kid, 3 years old. I don't know how much of that you remember, but can you talk a little bit about? I guess my first question would be, what do you remember about playing sports with type 1 as a kid? Because you've been at this your whole life.
Yeah, I don't remember life without type 1 diabetes, which I think is an advantage for me. Just because I didn't have to learn any new routines or learn any new stuff that I had to do. It was just kind of everyday life, and it's normal for me. But I've played sports my entire life. I played every sport you can imagine, and I never felt like I couldn't do something, or I never felt like I was out of place. My parents did an amazing job of, educating me and my coaches and anyone that was going to be around me. And I felt normal. It's something that I think a big help for me was, going to these conferences and meeting athletes with type 1 diabetes and seeing other kids that were also athletes with type 1 diabetes. So if they're doing it, then why can't I do it? And you always learn something from everyone. So that was huge for me. And, the technology has been such a huge help. Now I'm wearing the T Slim and I'm wearing a G7 Dexcom, and they both communicate with each other. And I put it on exercise mode whenever I'm lifting or playing or working out. And I don't have to focus on diabetes as much. So the technology has been a huge help. So yeah, I'm super thankful for that. And it's allowed me to stay on the field.
Yeah. My son played a lot of sports as well, not ever at a high level, but there were some sports that I found were so much more difficult to manage. And frankly, baseball was my favorite. I'm not sure it turned out to be his favorite. That turned out to be wrestling, which is a whole other story. But did you have a sport that you thought, oh my gosh, diabetes, man, this is tougher? Or, baseball is difficult enough. I'm not trying to say it's not.
Yeah. No, yeah. Baseball, you get the advantage that you can be in the dugout for half of the game, basically. I played a lot of tennis, and I feel like tennis was tough to find a way because you have a certain amount of time that you can take breaks, and I think you only have one medical timeout or whatever. So you're active all day, you're running. So that one was definitely a little bit tougher. I also didn't have the technology that I have nowadays, but you do see that there's professional tennis players with type 1 diabetes, so it's not impossible. I feel baseball is one of the easier ones, if you want to say, because you're not running all the time. It's a lot of standing still and waiting to go hit or waiting to make play on defense. So you get to be in the dugout and you get to have yourself in the dugout. Every sport has its own challenge and its own thing that comes with it. So it's not that one would be impossible to do, because there's always examples of people doing it. But yeah, no, it's super fun, and it's cool to see all these athletes and people that are coming up with type 1 diabetes that are being role models. And I was that kid that used to look up to these athletes, and now that I'm in that position, it's an absolute honor for me.
That's great. When you realized, and I don't know how old you were, you could be 6, you could have been 16, when you realized that this is what you want to do, you want to be a professional athlete, did you consciously change anything with diabetes management?
Not necessarily, no. I knew I always wanted to play professionally, and it was always, I wanted to go to college and I wanted to play in college and then play professionally. But yeah, around when I was like 15, 16, I was like, okay, like this could really happen. But it wasn't really like a diabetes change like that. It was just kind of doing everything off the field, like eating right, sleeping right, doing all those things so that they can prepare me to play on the field. And then I found that, when I eat right, when I sleep right, my diabetes is a lot better. And my blood sugar is a lot more stable. I can, sleep through the entire night without having to wake up and drink a juice box or anything. So that's a big, big change for me. So kind of just knowing what you're putting in your body and how it affects you and how you're going to feel the next day is something that I had to mature at a young age, just because, when you have type 1 diabetes, you can see how every food affects you immediately, basically. So I think that's been the biggest change for me.
And I get this question a lot from parents of kids who are serious athletes. How was it when you started applying for college? Were you disclosing that you lived with type 1? Was that part of the process for you? I've talked to parents and kids who's kind of gone both ways on that one.
Yeah, I'm super open about, my type 1 diabetes, and I post it all over my social media, and all of these coaches and recruiters, they see your social media, so they knew. And I never felt like, I was any different than anyone, honestly. So yeah, I just had a clear communication with the coaches. The staff at Florida State was awesome with helping, if I needed anything. My trainers up there, they had the follow app for the Dexcom, so they had my data during games and stuff. So if anything ever happened, they were there for me. But no, they never made me feel like any different. And it's something that I enjoy talking about. And I tell everyone that I know that, like any coach or anything, I have type 1 diabetes. They know I wear my pump during games, and, they'll see me snacking during games, but they never bother me.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's changed a lot. Maybe not for everyone, but I wonder if this is kind of a holdover from, I would say 20 years ago, but maybe even less than that, where it was looked at as a liability.
Yeah, well, you still see it nowadays, unfortunately. Like there was a team that I met with for the MLB draft, and they were like, yeah, like usually when we see a kid with type 1 diabetes, we try not to take him or we shy away from him. And yeah, you still see it nowadays, but you see so many examples of people with type 1 diabetes succeeding and having great careers, for example, in MLB that, you're saying if they're doing it, then I'm going to do it too. And it's just, it happens, and not everyone wants it to have that responsibility, but you can't please everyone.
What was your reaction when they said that?
It's kind of not normal, but expected at some point, I guess. You hear all these stories and stuff, so it's nothing new. That just kind of serves as a motivation to keep raising awareness and spreading the word that, you can do it with type 1 diabetes, and kind of being a positive role model so that one day, that never happens again.
Yeah. And your mom, I know, has been so active and such an advocate for so long. What was her reaction? Did you tell her? I would have been like, hold me back.
I think I told her. Did I? I can't remember if I told her.
You didn't tell her.
I definitely did. I definitely told her, but I can't remember her reaction. But I definitely did tell her.
Yeah, I'm just teasing, but that's funny.
Yeah.
We always get defensive for our kids.
Yeah,
and you
no
guys
doubt.
handle it, but you handle it very well. We are always
Thank
a
you.
little bit perhaps overreactive. The biggest question I got from my listeners when I said I was talking to you was, can you tell us about your routine? What do you do to prepare? Take us through as much detail as you want, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So for example, today we have a 7 o'clock game. So I woke up kind of late because we finished the game late last night. We got in late to the room. So woke up a little bit later, ordered some breakfast, and I try to eat, some eggs, some bacon, something that I know has a lot of protein in it, maybe some carbs. I'll maybe throw in some toast in there or hash browns or whatever. Yeah, and then I eat that. We head to the field like at 12:31, and then we start our day. So ever since the moment I get to the field, I turn my exercise mode on my T-Slim. And then I always have like Cliff Bars or fruit snacks or something with me just in case I do go low. And then I try not to eat before games, or if I do eat, I just try to eat as much protein as I can and limit any carbs. Like yesterday, we had a game and I had some chicken, steak, and avocado before the game. So that way I knew I didn't have to send any insulin for it. So I wasn't playing with any insulin on board, which is what I try to avoid. The least amount of insulin that I can have whenever a game starts, the better. Because usually before a game starts, my blood sugars rise a little bit, and then I just let it naturally go down. I try not to send any boluses or anything. I just try to let it do its own thing, because I've found that when I do send insulin, I just start going down before the game, and I'd rather play a little bit high than a little bit low. So I try to be like 140 to 160. And then we'll have whatever individualized work we need that day, hitting, defense, team meeting, whatever it is. And then 6:45 we go stretch, and then we play at 7. And then after the game, I've found that it's kind of the trickier part because I like to eat a lot after the game, but we finish the game so late here that I'm eating at 10:30, 11 at night. And then I'm trying to go to sleep with insulin in my system. So now I've got to try to find something after the game that, again, doesn't have that many carbs, that has a lot of protein, and then I'll substitute the carbs that I ate at night during the game. So during the game, I'll be drinking a lot of Gatorade, Cliff Bars, anything that I can do to, get some carbs in me and energy. Not a lot, so it doesn't go that high, but just something that I can kind of snack on during the game. And then after the game, I'll eat a lot of protein and try to limit, any of these big carbs. But sometimes you don't get the choice to. So you just gotta adapt to it and be cautious with it. But the sleep mode too for my T-Slim's done a great job, and it helps me sleep throughout the night, and I don't have to wake up 2-3 times a night to, be checking myself and drinking stuff and sending insulin.
It's interesting. I'm thinking as we're talking, years ago, I talked to Sam Fold, who was, Major League Baseball player.
Yeah.
And he was talking, I can't remember if he was on an insulin pump at the time, but I remember him saying, like, your adrenaline highs really kick in after a game.
Yeah.
And then he would eat pretty much whatever he wanted. And I'm sure he was eating very healthfully, but he would eat pretty much whatever he wanted, and not need a big bolus for it, if a bolus at all, and go to bed. And so those adrenaline highs for athletes are so interesting. And I know you're just one person. I'm not asking for everybody, but has the automated system helped really even those out? Right back to our conversation. But first, Diabetes Connections is brought to you by Omnipod. I'm amazed how hard these automated insulin delivery systems work. Omnipod 5 automatically increases, decreases, or pauses insulin delivery every 5 minutes. This technology is called Smart Adjust, and it's in the pod. This means if you're out on the football field and the controller is in your bag, the pod and Dexcom G6 continue to talk and make adjustments. That would have been awesome for us in middle school when Benny played football, or when he was backstage at the school play. All that, and you get the freedom of no tubes. Fill out the quick online form, see if you're eligible for a free trial. Go to diabetes-connections.com and click on the Omnipod logo. For full safety risk information and free trial terms and conditions, visit omnipod.com/diabetesconnections.
Yeah, it really has.
That's amazing.
Not all of them. Like, I remember before we played in, I don't know if you know, Omaha's like the top 8 teams in college. So before that game, like, obviously you're a lot of nerves, a lot of emotions going through. So I remember I was a little bit high, but it wasn't like I was super, super high.
Yeah.
Like, I'll probably be like if I start a game around like 200, 220, then I know I'm going to be in a great spot to finish the game. Yesterday, I think I started like at 140, and I think I dropped maybe to 120 was the lowest that I went to. So that's perfect for me. I just try to, stay in the higher side than the lower side, because all the exercise and all that will eventually kick in. But yeah, I know it's obviously different for everyone, and the settings are different for everyone and stuff like that. But the technology has been just such a huge advantage for me, and helping me stay on the field and helping me focus on baseball, because baseball is hard enough just focused on it. So imagine doing that and trying to make sure your blood sugars are good. So, technology is a huge safety blanket, and super thankful for it.
It's an interesting question to ask now with AID systems. I used to ask athletes, like, how do you wear technology during the game? Do you take it off? Well, a lot of people with tubed pumps used to take it off all the time. But you've already mentioned exercise mode, so you keep yours on.
Yeah.
Does it get in the way at all? I mean, there is some sliding and, activity in baseball that's very physical.
Yeah. So here, I'll show you So I always keep my pump on during the game. I wear it on my right pocket, back right pocket, and I slide on my left side, so I never really slide on it. But the people at EDC made me a custom case with the logo, and I've had Florida State logos. I've played summer ball. They made me a summer ball 1-2. So they made me this, and then this covers the entire pump. So the screen's protected so it won't break. And I just put it on my right back pocket, and I don't even notice that it's there.
You put it in the pocket. It's not, you don't clip it.
No, I just toss it in my back pocket. And then, I haven't really had any issues with it. I never feel like it's gotten in the way or anything. And I think it's just, I need to wear it, because if I don't wear it for 3 hours and I don't have insulin in my system, then, the insulin that I didn't have for basal and stuff like that is going to kick in at night, and I'm not going to be able to sleep. I've never had any issues with it. I've never felt like it's gotten in the way or anything. Some sites might have fallen off because of sweat or anything, but not because of sliding or any baseball activity.
And that was my next question, because we've already talked about the Florida Heat.
Yeah.
We know the Dexcom. Anything special you do? Any tips and tricks to keep that on?
No, actually, we used to have I've tried every single type of adhesive or anything you can put on, but the one that comes, I've been wearing the G7. The one that comes with the G7 in the little box never falls off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one maybe on day 8 or 9 or 10 starts peeling a little bit, but for me, that's been probably the best thing that I've been using. I've used that, and I've used dang, what's the name of the other one? The Skin
Grip.
Skin Grip. You use those a lot. Those are great. I use those for the T-Slim.
Yeah. Right. You mentioned your trainer has type 1 diabetes. Talk to me a little bit about that, because, and I'm laughing, I'm just thinking about sometimes when you're dealing with a health professional who lives with type 1, it's wonderful, right? They know everything. They can really help you through, but they know everything. So you can't really get away with saying oh, I can't because of this, or, I'm sure you're not the kind of person to make any kind of excuses or anything like that. But it is remarkable, and yet it is more common to have more people with type 1 in positions like that. So what's it like? Have you worked with somebody, a coach or a helper in the past who has type 1 diabetes?
No, I've never had a trainer that has had type 1 diabetes. I've had people that have know people with type 1 diabetes, but it's different when you actually have it. And it was funny because we were talking about one of my coaches was like, I've never seen somebody with type 1 diabetes that eats this many carbs during a game. I was like, yeah, for me, I need to keep eating carbs and stuff. And then our trainer, he was like, yeah, because our trainer, she tries limiting as many carbs as she can because she doesn't want to go high. So we were talking about how different it is and how personalized it is. If there's not one cookie cutter way to do it,
right?
Everybody's body reacts differently. Everybody reacts differently to, exercise and carbs and stress and all of that. And so it's been cool to see that perspective, but she's been awesome. She's been a great help, and she's always, she's let me know, I'll have this for you. I'll carry exercise for you. I have a little cooler I'll keep my insulin with. If you ever need it, you can toss yours in there with it. So she's been awesome. So it's been super cool to work with her.
Did you know that you'd have a trainer with type 1 when they made the offer? Was this something that you found out later?
I had no idea. So when I got here, I had a meeting with all the coaches and the directors and everything. And they asked me about it, and they were like, anything that you need, we've fully supported. We've had a bunch of players with type 1 diabetes. Sam Fold played for the Twins. When I was younger, I used to follow the Twins a lot just because of Sam Fold. And they're like, you're our first position player in the last, I think 10 years or something with type 1 diabetes. So, anything that you need from us, we're here to help you. So that was super accommodating from them, and they made me feel super comfortable. And then they let me know that the trainer up in the Fort Myers Mighty Mussels, she has type 1 diabetes as well. And he was like, and they're like, she's awesome. She'll help you out with anything. And she's been a great help, honestly. And it's been super cool.
That's great. I think we learn a lot by mistakes and when things go wrong. Do you have any examples or things you can remember, either college level or even in high school, where it was just diabetes was really getting in your way?
I wouldn't say that it got in the way per se. I've had times where I've gone low or I've been high or stuff like that. But it's like you said, you learn more from your mistakes than from anything else. So it's a lot of trial and error. And what I've realized too, and I bet you didn't feel the same way. You could eat the same thing back-to-back days, send the same bowls, and it won't act the same way both days. So my biggest thing that, me and my parents talked about a lot is there's not a good or a bad number. It's a number, and you have to react to it. You have to, be proactive. You have to have a good mentality of it, because if not, if you get frustrated because you're high and you get mad and it ruins your day, then you're going to get burned out eventually. It's a number. You're human. You make mistakes, but you learn from them. Tomorrow's going to be a new day, and you're going to have to deal with the same thing again. You can't take a day off of diabetes, and you just got to be positive about it and surround yourself with the right group. I feel like when you're around the right people that support you and are there for you, then it makes managing type 1 diabetes 10 times easier.
Yeah. So I saw you at Friends for Life. We did not meet, but I saw you meeting with all the kids.
Yeah.
Part of the Tandem Day that was there. And I'm sure you've met a lot of kids. You've alluded a couple of times that you were one of those kids who looked up to the major leaguers, and now you are one. What do you tell those kids?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for the kids and the families is to see somebody who's doing it at a high level and doing it the right way. And, if they have any questions, if they have any concerns, I always, give them my Instagram. And I always, I have a bunch of people, that either text me on Instagram or Twitter or anything that have any questions. And I'm super open to answering those questions. And I'm there to, not only be a role model, but to, be a friend for them and give them some advice. There's a bunch of kids that I met through playing at Florida State and through social media that, I still stay in communication. And, every time they post a story or I post a story, they'll send me a message or something. And I think it's super cool because, growing up, I knew a bunch of athletes and I followed them, but I never really got to interact with them. And I feel like if I would have had a chance to do it, it would have absolutely made my day. So if I can take, 5 minutes or 10 minutes to answer an Instagram DM or maybe FaceTime a kid for a few minutes and talk to him and give him any advice, I'll do it any day of the week.
That's great. Okay, so I got to ask for the moms out there. You've already mentioned a little bit what you thought your parents did well, but there is this balance of independence and really managing diabetes well, especially in the teenage years. What do you think your parents did right? What's the advice for moms and dads out there we want to see our kids thrive, but we're really worried about diabetes?
Yeah, no, I mean, my parents they got super educated and from a young age, I understood that, they're not telling me to check my blood sugar, send this, whatever to, to be a pain or anything. They're doing it out of love. And every parent out there, that there's nothing that you love more than your son and you want to see him succeed and you want to see him be healthy. So just having that open line of communication and knowing that they're doing it out of love and knowing that, they're not doing it just so when I'm hanging out with my friends, I have to take 5 minutes and check my blood sugar and send some insulin. They're doing it, to be there and support me. And even nowadays, like even when I went off to college, I'd still call my parents and be like, hey, I'm about to eat this. If I have any questions, how much do I send or whatever? My parents both have my Follow app on their phone. So if at any night they see that I've been low for 30 minutes and it's not going up, they'll give me a call and they'll help me out. So it's something that, I'm truly appreciative of them and what they've done for me. I wouldn't be here without them. So having that help from them, my brothers too, like growing up, I remember my brothers used to have me on the Follow app and they'd sometimes wake up in the middle of the night and if I wasn't waking up, they'd check my blood sugar. So having their support was just super, super important. So just making sure that, you're doing it out of love and understanding that sometimes it could be a hard day and it might not be because of type 1 diabetes, but something happened at school or something. And just, being there for him or her and understanding is super important.
All right. Before I let you go, and you've been really generous with your time. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
Do you still love baseball? What do you love about baseball?
Just the competition and showing up every day and trying to find a way to win. And not only that, but I was on the phone with a few of the guys from Florida State that also got drafted. And I was like, I truly miss like hanging out with the guys and that group of guys you start to become family with because you hang out with them more than you hang out with anyone. And even here now with the guys that I've been, 3, maybe 4 weeks with them, it's super fun to get to know them and see, all the cultures that they come from and you learn something new from everyone. So just having fun and enjoying the time that you're out there and competing and inspiring people through type 1 diabetes is something that I truly love. It's a grind. It's hard. But it's so much fun. It's something that, I'm super thankful to get the opportunity to play professional baseball and try to make it to the big leagues one day. So it's something that I don't think I'll ever stop loving baseball.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me and spending so much time. We really appreciate it. And we'll be watching. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're listening to Diabetes Connections with Stacey Sims.
More information in the show notes. There's been some great articles written about Jaime in the past, so I'll link those up. And also, you heard him. He was showing me his pump case. We do have a YouTube channel. I'm going to put that video there. Also, try to make some reels this week where you can see that. I'm not on TikTok. I am on Instagram. So like the Gen X person that I am, I lean toward reels. Sorry about that. We're off and rolling this fall. I can't believe it is fall, but lots of great episodes to come. Lots of technology news happened. I was actually out of town last week. Took a great trip with my sister up to Montreal. But man, a lot of stuff happened. So don't miss In the News this week. And we've got some great guests coming up as well. And of course, Mom's Night Out. Do not miss if you're anywhere near Denver, Colorado, or Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I would love to meet you. And just email me if you have any questions or if you want a promo code. Thanks to my editor, John Buchanan from Audio Editing Solutions. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Stacey Sims. I'll see you back here soon. Until then, be kind to yourself.
Diabetes Connections is a production of Stacey Sims Media. All rights reserved, all wrongs avenged.
Benny has been using the Dexcom CGM for more than 10 years now. The first insertion was in 2013, just before he turned 9. It was great then. I mean, if you had done finger sticks for a while, you know how amazing it is to go from that to continuous glucose monitoring. But it's even better now. The Dexcom CGM systems just keep improving. They continue to get more and more accurate with no finger sticks or scanning required. The easy push-button insertion has made it easy for Benny to do it himself. He has done every one since we switched to the G6 in 2018, which was great for his independence back then as a younger teen. And of course, we still love the alerts and alarms and that we can set them how we want. Find out more, go to diabetes-connections.com and click on the Dexcom logo. If your glucose alerts and readings from the G6 do not match symptoms or expectations, use a blood glucose meter to make diabetes treatment decisions.